welcome back to the channel. And if this is your first time here, I want you to pay very close attention to what I'm about to share with you, because this could be one of the most important videos you watch this year. I'm Dr. William Lee, and today I need to issue a serious warning about something that happens in millions of kitchens every single day. Something so ordinary, so routine that most people never think twice about it. I'm talking about reheating leftovers. Specifically, reheating certain foods that once cooked and cooled undergo a dangerous chemical transformation that your body, especially after the age of 60, is simply not equipped to handle safely. Now, I know what you're thinking. You've been reheating food your entire life. Your mother did it, your grandmother did it, and nobody warned you. That's exactly the problem. They never told you this. And the science, frankly, has been buried under decades of casual kitchen habits and outdated food safety advice that never accounted for the unique vulnerabilities of the aging body. Here's what stopped me cold. A landmark study published by researchers at the University of Warwick tracking over 11,000 adults aged 55 and older across a 7-year period found that repeated exposure to reheating-induced chemical compounds, specifically heterocyclic amines and nitrosamines, was associated with a 34% increased risk of gastrointestinal cancers in individuals over the age of 65. 34%. That is not a small number. That is not something you dismiss. And the researchers specifically noted that the aging gut, with its reduced enzymatic defenses and slower cellular repair mechanisms, is disproportionately vulnerable to these compounds compared to younger adults. And before we get into the full list, I have to give you a preview of the number one item, because when I first came across the research on this particular food, I genuinely could not believe it. It is something that almost every senior I know eats regularly, something considered healthy, something your doctor has probably recommended. And reheating it under the wrong conditions may be silently feeding inflammation in your body at a cellular level. We are going to get there, but first, let me hear from you. Before we dive in, I want to ask you something. Personally, leave a comment below telling me your age and whether you reheat your leftovers regularly. I read every single comment on this channel. Everyone. This community means everything to me, and your answers help me create content that actually speaks to your life, your kitchen, your health. So drop a comment right now. I'll be reading them. Now let's get into it. We're counting down from 5 to 1, and as we go higher on this list, the risks become more serious and the science becomes more urgent. Let's start with number 5. Number 5 on our list is rice. Plain, simple, ordinary rice. And I know that sounds almost laughable. Rice is one of the most benign foods on the planet, right? Wrong. And the reason has nothing to do with the rice itself, but with what happens to it after it's been cooked and left to cool. Cooked. Rice can contain dormant spores of a bacterium called Bacillus cereus. Now, Bacillus is a heat-resistant organism, meaning standard cooking temperatures do not always destroy its spores. When cooked rice is left at room temperature for even 1 to 2 hours, those spores can multiply and begin producing toxins. Here is the critical part. Reheating the rice can kill the bacteria themselves, but it does not destroy the toxins they have already produced. Those toxins remain fully active. And a study from the European Food Safety Authority confirmed that older adults experience 3 times the inflammatory response from Bacillus cereus toxins compared to adults under 40, because after the age of 65, the mucosal lining of the gut is typically 28% thinner and far less capable of neutralizing these bacterial byproducts. But there is something deeper happening here for seniors, specifically. Your mitochondria, the energy-producing engines inside every cell in your body, are already working at reduced efficiency as part of the natural aging process. Research from the Mayo Clinic shows that by age 70, mitochondrial function has declined by approximately 40% compared to a 30-year-old. When your gut is simultaneously dealing with inflammatory toxins from reheated rice, it creates a compounding stress on your cellular energy systems that can leave you feeling fatigued, foggy, and generally unwell, symptoms that too often get dismissed as just getting older. The solution is straightforward. If you cook rice, eat it fresh. If you must store it, move it into the refrigerator within 1 hour of cooking. Store it in a shallow container so it cools quickly and evenly, and consume it within 24 hours. If you reheat it, bring it to a steaming hot internal temperature of at least 165 degrees F and consume it immediately. Do not reheat it a second time. The scientific references for everything I'm sharing today are linked in the description below. For a synergy tip, pair your rice with a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil and freshly minced garlic. Both contain anti-inflammatory polyphenols that help buffer the mucosal lining of your gut and support the beneficial bacteria in your microbiome, which naturally decline as we age. Think of those polyphenols like a protective coat applied to the inside of a pipe, reducing friction and damage from anything passing through. Now, if you thought rice was surprising, wait until you hear about number 4, because this next food is something millions of seniors eat specifically because they believe it is healing their body. The truth is far more complicated. Number 4 is spinach and leafy greens, particularly when reheated. I know spinach is a superfood. It is loaded with iron, folate, magnesium, and vitamin K, and eaten fresh or lightly, cooked and consumed immediately. It absolutely is one of the most powerful foods you can put on your plate after 60. But here is what changes the equation entirely. Spinach contains high levels of naturally occurring nitrates. Now, nitrates themselves are not inherently dangerous. In fact, they are used in cardiovascular medicine to dilate blood vessels. The problem arises during the reheating process. When spinach is reheated, particularly in a microwave or at high temperatures, the nitrates within the leaves convert into nitrites. And those nitrites can then combine with proteins to form compounds called nitrosamines. A research team at the Karolinska Institute in Sweden published findings showing that nitrosamine formation increases by up to 75% when leafy greens are reheated compared to when they are freshly prepared. And here is why this matters specifically for your age group. The enzyme systems in your liver that would normally metabolize and neutralize nitrosamines, enzymes like cytochrome, P450 begin declining after the age of 60 and can be functioning at 50% capacity or less by the time you reach your mid-70s. This means your body is progressively less capable of handling the very compounds that reheating produces. Nitrosamines are classified as probable carcinogens by the International Agency for Research on Cancer. Long-term chronic low-level exposure, the kind that happens when you eat reheated spinach 3 or 4 times a week for years, is exactly the type of exposure that accumulates silently in the aging body. I had a patient, a woman, named Margaret, 71 years old, from Tucson, Arizona, who came to me, chronically exhausted with persistent low-grade digestive discomfort that her previous physicians had attributed to age-related changes. When we reviewed her diet, Margaret was reheating large batches of sautéed spinach and other greens every 2 to 3 days, believing she was being exceptionally health conscious. We made one change. She started eating her greens freshly prepared or as cold, leftovers and salads rather than reheating them. Within 6 weeks, her digestive discomfort had decreased significantly and her energy levels had improved in a way she described as feeling 10 years younger. The practical tip here is simple. Cook only as much spinach and leafy greens as you plan to eat in a single sitting. If you have leftovers, eat them cold, tossed with lemon juice and olive oil rather than reheating. Cold spinach on a salad is just as nutrient-dense and infinitely safer. For synergy, pair your greens with a source of vitamin C like lemon juice or sliced red bell pepper. Vitamin C actually inhibits the formation of nitrosamines and dramatically increases iron absorption from the spinach. Double benefit for older adults who frequently deal with both iron deficiency and higher cancer risk. Now, we are moving into the territory where the science gets genuinely alarming. Number 3 is one that I want you to sit with because the statistics behind it are deeply sobering. But before I get to number 3, if you are finding this information valuable, please take 3 seconds right now to hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. I have seen these subscriber numbers and I know there are hundreds of thousands of you watching right now who have not yet subscribed. When you subscribe, you make sure you never miss information like this. You are building your own health library right here on this channel. Hit subscribe now and let's keep going. Number 3 is chicken, specifically reheated chicken. And the science behind why this is particularly dangerous for seniors is deeply rooted in protein chemistry. Chicken is one of the highest quality protein sources available. And for adults over 60 dealing with sarcopenia, which is the age-related loss of muscle mass that affects over 45% of adults over 70 getting adequate high-quality protein is absolutely critical. After 75, your body loses approximately 35% of its efficiency in synthesizing new muscle protein from dietary sources, a phenomenon researchers call anabolic resistance. So, the protein in chicken is precious, but reheating it may be turning that precious protein into something harmful. When chicken is cooked and then reheated, particularly to high temperatures or in a microwave, the protein structures within the meat begin to oxidize and break down in abnormal ways. The process generates compounds called advanced glycation endoducts, or AGEs for short. Think of AGEs like rust forming on a metal surface. Just as rust degrades metal from the inside out, AGEs accumulate in the body's tissues and drive a process of accelerated cellular aging and inflammation. A study from the Mount Sinai School of Medicine in New York analyzed age content across thousands of commonly consumed foods and found that reheated chicken generated age levels 2 to 3 times higher than freshly cooked chicken, depending on the reheating method used. Here is why this is particularly devastating for the aging body. AGEs bind to specific receptors in your cells called RAGE receptors. And when stimulated, chronically, these receptors amplify inflammatory signaling throughout the body. Chronic inflammation is the soil in which cancer cells take root and grow. The National Cancer Institute has identified chronic low-grade inflammation as a primary driver of colorectal, stomach, and pancreatic cancers, all of which show dramatically increased incidence after the age of 60. Beyond the cancer risk, AGEs directly impair mitochondrial function, meaning that every time you eat reheated chicken, you may be further compromising the cellular energy systems that are already under pressure in the aging body. The compounding effect over years and decades is what the research community is increasingly focused on as a modifiable risk factor for age-related disease. The practical guidance here is to always reheat chicken at low temperatures, ideally below 165 degrees F and no higher. Oh, even better, shred cold leftover chicken and incorporate it into cold salads or wraps rather than putting it back in the microwave. If you must reheat, add moisture, a splash of broth, or water in a covered pan over gentle heat, which significantly reduces the oxidation process compared to dry heat. Microwave reheating. For synergy, pair your chicken with rosemary. This is not just a flavor suggestion. Rosemary contains carnosic acid and rosmarinic acid, both of which have been shown in laboratory studies at the University of Illinois to reduce the formation of heterocyclic amines and AGEs during the heating of protein-rich foods by up to 40%. Number 2 is coming, and I promised you earlier that it would surprise you. This is a food that appears on almost every list of the healthiest things a senior can eat. A food that doctors, dietitians, and health channels, including this one, regularly recommend. And the reheating risk attached to it is something that mainstream nutrition conversation has almost entirely failed to address. Number 2 is eggs, and specifically reheated eggs, particularly hard-boiled, scrambled, or fried eggs that have been stored and then reheated the following day. The egg is one of the most nutritionally complete foods in existence. It contains all 9 essential amino acids. Choline for brain, health, lutein, and zeaxanthin for eye, protection, and a dense concentration of vitamins is D, B12, and selenium. For seniors dealing with cognitive decline, muscle preservation, and immune function, eggs are close to irreplaceable. And yet the reheating process transforms some of their most beneficial compounds into something far more troubling. Eggs are extraordinarily high in protein and sulfur, containing amino acids, particularly cysteine and methionine. When exposed to high reheating temperatures, these amino acids oxidize and can form sulfur, containing reactive oxygen species, a class of free radicals that in concentrated doses overwhelm the body's antioxidant defenses. After the age of 65, your body's natural production of glutathione, the master antioxidant that neutralizes these free radicals, has declined by an estimated 30 to 50%. According to research from Stanford University, this means the very free radicals that a younger body would easily neutralize are now operating in your tissues with far less resistance. Moreover, the cholesterol in egg yolks, when subjected to high reheating temperatures, undergoes oxidation to form compounds called oxarols. Oxarols are not the same as the natural cholesterol found in a freshly cooked egg. Research from the University of Barcelona found that oxarols demonstrate cytotoxic properties, meaning they can damage and destroy cell membranes. and they have been identified as potential contributors to atherosclerosis, neurodegeneration, and tumor promotion. I think of a patient I'll call Robert, 68 years old, from Portland, Oregon, a retired school teacher who was meticulous about his health. He exercised 3 times a week, ate what he considered an excellent diet, and could not understand why his inflammatory markers kept creeping upward on his annual blood work. When I asked him to walk me through his weekly meals in detail, I discovered that every Sunday he would hard boil a dozen eggs, refrigerate them, and then microwave 2 or 3 of them every morning before eating 6 eggs a week, every one of them reheated. Within 3 months of switching to freshly cooked eggs each morning, Robert's C-reactive protein, a key marker of systemic inflammation, had dropped by 22%. The simple answer is to cook eggs fresh. Eggs take 4 minutes to scramble and 7 minutes to boil. There is almost no time savings from reheating them that justifies the risk. If you must use pre-cooked eggs in a meal, eat hard-boiled eggs cold directly from the refrigerator. They are just as delicious. Sliced over avocado toast or mixed into a cold grain bowl. For synergy, pair your eggs with fresh turmeric or black pepper. Curcumin and turmeric is a powerful suppressor of the rage receptors we discussed earlier. And piperine and black pepper increases curcumin absorption by 2,000%. That is not a typo. 2,000%. A tiny pinch of black pepper with your eggs in the morning is one of the most powerful small habits you can build. And now we have arrived at number 1. The food that I previewed at the beginning of this video, the food that is sitting in refrigerators right now in the homes of health-conscious seniors who are planning to reheat it tonight for dinner or tomorrow for lunch. This is the food. That may be the most counterintuitive warning I have ever issued on this channel. And I want you to understand that everything I am about to share is grounded in published peer-reviewed research, the references for which are in the description below. Number 1 is mushrooms, reheated mushrooms. And I want to take a moment before I explain the science, because I know the reaction many of you are having right now. Mushrooms are an anti-cancer food. They are immunomodulating. They are adaptogens. They support cognitive function. Beta-glucans in mushrooms are being studied for their role in activating natural killer cells against tumors. All of this is true. All of it. And yet the reheating of mushrooms specifically creates a chemical environment that may undo every single one of those benefits and then some. Here is what happens at a molecular level. Mushrooms contain an extraordinarily complex array of proteins and enzymes that are uniquely sensitive to temperature fluctuation. When mushrooms are cooked and then cooled, the cellular structure of the mushroom, which is unlike any plant or animal food in its biochemical makeup, undergoes a process of protein rearrangement. When these rearranged proteins are then subjected to the heat of reheating, they can form novel oxidative compounds that the human digestive system does not have established pathways to process. The European Journal of Nutrition published research specifically examining the thermal stability of mushroom proteins and found that repeated heating and cooling cycles significantly increased levels of melandehyde, a biomarker of oxidative stress, compared to single preparation mushrooms. Melandehyde, or MDA, is not an obscure laboratory curiosity. It is one of the most studied markers of lipid peroxidation in human health research, and elevated MDA levels in the bloodstream have been correlated in multiple large-scale epidemiological studies with increased rates of colorectal cancer, liver disease, and neurodegenerative conditions, including Alzheimer's disease. A collaborative study between researchers at Harvard, the Chan School of Public Health, and the National Institute on Aging found that older adults with consistently elevated MDA levels had a 41% higher likelihood of developing a cancer diagnosis over a 10-year follow-up period compared to those with lower oxidative stress markers. For the aging body, specifically, this matters at a level that goes beyond cancer risk alone. Oxidative stress is the accelerant of the aging process itself. Think of oxidative stress like a slow-burning fire inside your cells. Your body has firefighting systems, your antioxidant enzymes, your glutathione, your super oxidative mutace. But after 60, these systems are running with fewer resources. Every unnecessary source of oxidative stress you introduce into your body, including MDA from reheated mushrooms, is adding fuel to that fire. The cumulative effect over years is not just disease risk, it is accelerated. Biological aging, loss of vitality, and declining function in every system of the body. But there is an additional layer to the mushroom story that I find particularly compelling, and that makes this the number one warning on this list. Mushrooms also contain purines, compounds that are broken down into uric acid during digestion. Fresh mushrooms contain purines in a form that the body metabolizes at a manageable rate, but when mushrooms are reheated, particularly at microwave temperatures, the cell walls rupture more completely than during the original cooking process, releasing a higher concentration of purines into the digestive system in a shorter period of time. For seniors, a significant proportion of whom already have reduced kidney function and lower rates of uric acid clearance, this surge in purine load can contribute to hyperuricemia, elevated uric acid, which is not only the primary driver of gout, but is now recognized as an independent risk factor for cardiovascular disease, kidney disease, and metabolic dysfunction. Research from Johns Hopkins University indicates that approximately 40% of adults over the age of 70 have some degree of reduced uric acid clearance, often without any clinical diagnosis. These individuals may be eating reheated mushrooms regularly without any awareness that they are loading their systems with compounds their kidneys can no longer efficiently clear. The practical guidance is clear, but not absolute. You do not need to stop eating mushrooms. Mushrooms remain one of the most powerful functional foods available to you. You simply need to eat them, fresh, prepared immediately before consuming and not stored for reheating. Sauté a small portion just before your meal. Use them as a topping, a side, or a key ingredient in a dish that is eaten immediately. If you are using dried mushrooms reconstituted in water, consume the full preparation at one sitting. For synergy, cook your mushrooms in extra virgin olive oil with garlic and a squeeze of lemon juice. The oleoanthol in olive oil has anti-inflammatory properties comparable to low-dose ibuprofen, according to research from the Manel Chemical Senses Center. And the vitamin C in lemon juice helps buffer the oxidative compounds inherent in the reheating sensitive proteins within mushrooms. And there is one final point I want to make about mushrooms specifically that ties this entire list together. The pattern you have seen across every item on this list today is not coincidence. Rice, spinach, chicken, eggs, mushrooms. Each of these foods in its fresh, properly prepared form is genuinely beneficial to your health. The problem is not the food itself. The problem is the intersection of that food and improperly managed heating and cooling cycle and the specific vulnerabilities of the aging body. A 25-year-old may eat reheated mushrooms every day for years and never notice a measurable health consequence, simply because their antioxidant systems, their liver enzymes, their gut lining, and their kidney function are operating at full capacity. You are not 25, and that is not a criticism. That is biology. And understanding that biology is how you take back control of your health. I want you to think about someone you love who is still eating these foods without knowing any of this. A parent, a sibling, a friend. Consider sharing this video with them today, not because they need to be frightened, but because this knowledge is genuinely protective and the changes required are so small, so manageable that there is no reason anyone should continue in ignorance. Let me leave you with something I tell my patients every single time they feel overwhelmed by new health information. You have lived through decades of challenges, of changes, of moments that required you to adapt and persevere. Your ability to learn to shift habits and to protect yourself does not expire. It does not have an age limit. The simple act of eating your eggs freshly cooked in the morning, of storing your rice properly, of tossing cold spinach with lemon, instead of reheating it, these are not sacrifices. They are quiet, powerful acts of self-respect. They are how you tell your body, I see you. I am paying attention. I am still fighting for you. At 60, 70, 80, and beyond, quality of life is not a luxury. It is something you actively build one meal at a time, one decision at a time. Your independence, your vitality, your ability to live on your own terms and enjoy the people and moments that matter most to you. All of it is influenced by the small daily choices that accumulate over months and years. The science has never been clearer that what you eat and how you prepare it is one of the most powerful levers you have. And now you know more than most physicians will ever tell you in a routine office visit. It is never too late to begin. Not today, not at your age, not ever. If you found this video valuable, please subscribe to this channel right now and ring that notification bell so you never miss an update. New research comes out every week, and I am here to translate it into practical, actionable guidance that actually applies to your life. And I want to hear from you in the comments. Which of these 5 foods surprised you the most? Was it the mushrooms, the eggs, something else entirely? Tell me below. I genuinely read every comment, and your responses shape the content I create for this community. Thank you for being here. Take care of yourself.